welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to explore a really massive multi-billion-dollar transformation that's happening, well, basically right outside your front door.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere right now.
Exactly. We're looking at the future of how we move people around. So from the kids in our neighborhoods heading to class to, your daily commute or calling a ride share after a night out.
Right. It's this fundamental shift in both what powers our vehicles and who or what is actually driving them.
Totally. And to guide this exploration, we're looking at a pretty incredible stack of sources today. First, we have a highly detailed June 2025 Government Accountability Office, or GAO, report.
Right. That one's on the massive federal push to replace diesel school buses.
Yeah. And then we're pairing that with a comprehensive 2026 CNET article that tracks the rapid nationwide expansion of Waymo's autonomous robotaxis.
And just a quick note before we really jump in here. These sources obviously touch on government spending, EPA regulations, climate policy, things like that.
Right.
Our goal here is purely to unpack the facts and the findings presented in these documents. We're impartially reporting on the content provided.
Yep, just laying out the facts.
Exactly. We aren't taking sides or endorsing specific political viewpoints on these policies. We just want to convey the ideas that are actually contained in the original source material.
Absolutely. So whether you're dropping your kids off at school or calling a car to the airport, the vehicles you're about to step into are undergoing the biggest technological leap in a century.
It's huge.
But we are going to look closely at the friction of this transition because, well, the roadblocks to this future aren't always what you might expect.
No, they rarely are.
So let's start with the school run, the classic yellow school bus. There are roughly 500,000 of them operating in the U.S. right now.
And the vast majority of that fleet relies really heavily on diesel fuel.
Right. And the GAO report zeroes in on a major issue here, which is legacy buses. So these are buses built before the EPA introduced stricter federal emissions standards back in 2007 and 2010.
Yeah. And the thing about those older diesel engines is that they're basically mechanical marvels in terms of durability. I mean, they can run for decades.
Wow. Decades.
Oh, yeah. But the trade-off for that incredible durability is the emission of significantly higher levels of pollutants. The report specifically highlights nitrogen oxides and fine particulate matter.
Okay, let's talk about the actual mechanism of that pollution. Because the EPA report to Congress noted that children are uniquely vulnerable here. It isn't just that, pollution is bad in general. It's about how a child's biology interacts with these specific particles.
That is a really crucial distinction to make. Fine particulate matter is so incredibly small that it actually bypasses the body's natural filtration systems in the nose and throat.
So it just goes straight down.
Exactly. It travels deep into the lungs.
Yeah.
Now consider a child, right? Their lungs are still in a critical developmental stage.
Right.
Furthermore, children physically breathe at a faster rate than adults do.
So if they're sitting inside a legacy diesel bus with older exhaust systems or, just standing at a bus stop while 5 of these buses idle at the curb, their lungs are taking in a much higher volume of these particles relative to their actual body mass.
Yeah, and the data really reflects that biological reality. The EPA links this specific exposure to increased risks of asthma, elevated rates of other respiratory illnesses, and, well, they directly tie it to measurable increases in students missing school days.
That's wild, just from waiting for the bus.
And additionally, we obviously have to factor in the carbon dioxide emissions that are contributing to broader greenhouse gases.
So the mandate is pretty clear, right? Get the yellow buses to go green. We're talking electric, propane, or compressed natural gas.
Right.
But this brings us to the first massive roadblock, which is the cost chasm. Because replacing a legacy diesel bus with an electric one is not just a simple upgrade.
Not at all.
It's basically like trading in a standard Honda Civic for a custom-built Lamborghini.
I mean, that upfront capital requirement fundamentally alters a school district's entire budget.
Right. Let's lay out the math from the 2025 study cited in the report. A brand new standard diesel school bus will cost the district anywhere from $98,000 to $154,000.
Which is already a lot of money.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But a new electric school bus, you are looking at a staggering $300,000 to $440,000 per vehicle.
It's massive. And propane and compressed natural gas, they sit somewhere in the middle, around $110,000 to $130,000.
So why is it so much more, the electric one, I mean?
Well, the reason for that massive premium on the electric side really just comes down to the physics of moving weight.
Okay.
A school bus is incredibly heavy, so it requires a massive super heavy battery pack just to achieve the necessary driving range.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, and those high-capacity battery packs are the single most expensive component driving up that $400,000 price tag.
So for a local school board trying to just, balance a normal budget, a $400,000 vehicle is a total non-starter, which is why the federal government is flooding the zone with unprecedented funding.
Unprecedented is the right word. The sheer scale of the capital injection here is historic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the IIJA, allocated $5 billion into the EPA's Clean School Bus program for fiscal years 2022 through 2026.
$5 billion. Wow.
And then the Inflation Reduction Act added another $1 billion specifically for heavy-duty vehicles.
Plus we have IRS tax credits, right? Offering up to $40,000 per commercial clean vehicle and up to $100,000 just for charging infrastructure in certain low-income or non-urban areas.
Exactly. And on top of all that, there is nearly $3 billion sitting in a mitigation trust from the Volkswagen emissions cheating settlement.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah, and that trust is also being tapped to fund these buses.
So even if you don't have a child setting foot on one of these buses, this really matters to you.
Oh,
This is a massive deployment of your public tax dollars that's fundamentally reshaping the electrical infrastructure and just the baseline air quality in your local community.
right, because upgrading the grid to handle a fleet of massive batteries affects literally everyone on that grid.
Okay, wait, I need to push back on this because I am genuinely confused by something.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, let's unpack this. If the EPA, the Department of Energy, and the IRS are all handing out literal billions of dollars, I don't understand why our streets aren't just silent fleets of electric buses already. I mean, free money is free money.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. What is actually stopping a school district from just buying the buses?
Well, you are hitting on the exact friction point the GAO report investigated.
Okay.
The ambition is super high and the capital is absolutely available, but the bureaucratic reality of actually deploying that capital is creating a massive bottleneck.
Bureaucracy, of course.
Yeah. The GAO looked at how this money is managed across 4 key federal programs. So that's 3 within the EPA and 1 in the Department of Energy.
And they found it was a structural mess.
Pretty much. They evaluated these programs and found significant fragmentation, overlap, and duplication.
Okay, let's avoid the textbook definitions here. What does that actually look like for, say, a school district superintendent who's just trying to get a green bus on the road? Is this just bureaucratic alphabet soup, or is it actually slowing things down?
It's definitely slowing things down. Think of it like trying to build a house, but you have 3 different general contractors and literally none of them are talking to each other.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
Right. They all want you to build the house. That is the shared goal. They are all offering to pay for the bricks. That is the overlapping strategy. But they all have slightly different blueprints and totally different compliance checklists.
So how does that overlap actually stop a physical charging station from being bolted to the concrete? Are schools just drowning in contradictory paperwork?
That is exactly the mechanism of the delay. So a school district might win a grant from the EPA to purchase the $400,000 bus, right?
Bus secured.
But the funding to build the actual charging station might have to come from a totally different program.
Oh, I see.
And that second program might require distinct environmental impact reviews, or different local utility sign-offs, or totally different procurement rules.
So the physical bus arrives in the parking lot, but the charging station is just stuck in permitting hell because the district is trying to satisfy 2 or 3 different federal agencies at the exact same time.
Precisely. The EPA has already committed over $3 billion for grants and rebates. But the GAO found that the districts receiving these awards are hitting an absolute brick wall when it comes to installing the electric infrastructure.
Because a fully electric bus without a high-voltage charger is basically just a very expensive paperweight.
Exactly. And according to the report, the oversight on this massive spend is severely lacking. The EPA's own Office of the Inspector General audited the program.
And what did they find?
They found insufficient internal controls to even verify if the recipients they selected were eligible in the first place.
You're kidding.
No. Furthermore, the GAO discovered a massive data blind spot. The EPA doesn't systematically collect complete information to track these infrastructure delays.
Wait, so they don't even know where the holdups are?
Right. And if you don't have data on where the bottlenecks are occurring, you can't streamline the process.
That is so frustrating.
They also lack a complete methodology to estimate the actual emission reductions these overlapping programs are achieving.
Okay, so we have the public sector throwing billions of dollars at a hardware problem, but they're getting totally bogged down in administrative friction and infrastructure delays.
Yeah, that's the summary.
Well, let's pivot to the private sector, because they are pouring billions into this transformation too, but their friction point is entirely different. They're trying to remove the human driver altogether.
Ah, yes. The Waymo Robotaxi revolution.
Exactly. The 2026 CNET article lays out statistics that prove this is no longer just a cool tech demo operating on a couple of sunny streets.
No, it's way past that now.
Waymo is doing 400,000 paid trips a week. They have logged over 200 million fully autonomous miles.
And when you reach that volume, you transition from a neat little pilot program to a functional, heavily utilized public utility.
Okay, but I understand how an autonomous car works in, like, sunny, flat Phoenix, Arizona. The cameras can see the lane lines perfectly.
Sure.
But how does a computer drive through a whiteout blizzard in Detroit or a massive downpour in Seattle? Human eyes struggle with that. How does a ghost car do it?
Well, that specific challenge is exactly what Waymo's new 6th-generation self-driving technology was engineered to solve.
Okay.
They're rolling this out on a modified Zeekr vehicle that they've dubbed the Ojai, and soon on the Hyundai Ioniq 5.
Now, the CNET piece mentioned something that felt totally counterintuitive to me. This 6th-generation tech actually uses fewer cameras than the previous versions.
Yeah, it sounds backward until you understand the actual mechanics of how the vehicle perceives the world.
Right.
A camera is a passive sensor. It relies on ambient light, the sun or street lamps, to capture an image.
Okay, makes sense.
But if a blizzard hits, the snowflakes reflect the light, and the camera is effectively blinded, just like human eye would be.
So if they are reducing their reliance on cameras, what are they replacing them with?
Active sensors. Specifically, vastly upgraded radar and LiDAR systems.
Break down the mechanics of those for me, because how do they actually see through a storm?
Okay, so think of LiDAR like a bat using echolocation. But instead of sound, it uses pulses of light.
Okay, it's like pulses.
The LiDAR system spins and shoots out millions of invisible laser beams every single second. When those beams hit an object like a pedestrian, a car, a traffic cone, they bounce back.
Right.
The computer measures exactly how long that light took to return and creates this highly accurate 3D topographical map of the world in real time.
But wait, wouldn't a laser beam just hit a snowflake and bounce back too?
It does, which is where the new processing algorithms come in. The software is now sophisticated enough to filter out the noise of the snowflakes or the raindrops and focus only on the solid objects behind them. Yeah, and then you layer in the radar. Radar uses radio waves instead of light.
And radio waves just pass right through the snow and rain.
Exactly. The weather is practically invisible to the radar. It bounces off the dense metal of the car ahead of you, giving the Waymo perfect data on how far away that car is and exactly how fast it is moving, even in a total whiteout.
That is wild.
By combining the high-resolution cameras, the 3D map from the LiDAR, and the speed data from the radar, the car has a composite view of the road that is just far superior to human vision. It can peer into deep shadows, and it isn't blinded by oncoming high beams.
And conquering the weather isn't just about showing off the tech, right? It's a business necessity.
It's the final key to mass adoption. If you can only operate a robotaxi in perfect weather, it remains a regional novelty.
Right, like a theme park ride.
Exactly. But if the system can safely navigate a blizzard in Minneapolis or upstate New York, it becomes a universal transportation utility.
So let's talk about what this utility actually looks like for you, the rider, today. Because the reality of hailing one of these ghost cars is pretty bizarre, and it's changing really rapidly.
Yeah, their strategy has shifted from a closed ecosystem to some pretty major partnerships.
Right. Like in places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Miami, you still use the dedicated Waymo app. But in Austin, Atlanta, and Phoenix, they've partnered directly with Uber.
Which changes the game completely.
You can literally just open your phone, order a standard UberX or Uber Comfort, and a driverless Jaguar might just pull up to the curb.
And the integration goes beyond just passenger transport now. In Phoenix, you might order takeout on Uber Eats, and you get a notification that an autonomous vehicle is handling the delivery.
I just love the visual of this. You walk out in your sweatpants, you tap a button on your phone to pop the trunk of an empty car, you grab your food, and the car just drives away. It is so wild.
It feels like science fiction, but it's Tuesday?
Yeah. And these vehicles aren't just sticking to quiet back streets anymore. They're doing airport runs to Phoenix Sky Harbor and San Francisco International. In multiple cities, they are now merging onto busy freeways with passengers inside.
But, that rapid expansion into highly complex environments brings us to the ultimate friction point.
The safety versus psychology debate.
Exactly.
Because the public pushback is intense, and honestly, people are genuinely freaked out. The CNET article doesn't shy away from the failures either.
No, they highlight them.
Waymos have blocked traffic during power outages. They have gotten utterly confused and paralyzed in complex construction zones. And there have been collisions, including highly publicized incidents where a vehicle struck a cyclist and a pedestrian.
And every single one of those failures must be heavily scrutinized. But to understand the true state of the technology, we really have to look past the viral videos and analyze the aggregate data.
Right, and the numbers in Waymo's safety impact report are just wild.
They really are. Over the course of 71 million autonomous miles driven through March 2025, the Waymo driver had 88% fewer crashes leading to serious injury or worse compared to a human driver.
88% fewer.
88%. And when you look at the most vulnerable people on the street, the data shows 93% fewer collisions with pedestrians, 81% fewer with cyclists, and 86% fewer with motorcyclists.
Okay, so statistically, the computer's vastly safer than we are.
Without a doubt.
But when a human makes a mistake, it's just a local news story. When a robot car gets confused by a traffic cone and blocks an intersection, it goes viral globally and people completely panic.
Right.
Why is there such a massive disconnect between the data and our reaction to it?
What's fascinating here is that it really comes down to how we psychologically process risk. As a society, we accept human error as a known, unavoidable variable.
Right, we're used to it.
We know human drivers get tired, they look at their phones, they speed. We basically accept a certain borderline level of danger as just the cost of doing business on a public road.
But we evaluate machines differently.
Entirely differently. We demand absolute flawless perfection from them. Even when the machine is statistically much safer, any error feels unacceptable.
It feels like an uncanny valley of risk. Like, we forgive a human for glancing at a text message, but if an AI rigidly follows a rule and freezes at a broken traffic light, we think the apocalypse is here.
Think about the power outage example you mentioned earlier. When a traffic light goes dark, a human driver intuitively breaks the standard rules.
Right, we make eye contact with the other drivers, we wave each other through, we just treat it like an informal four-way stop.
Exactly. Early autonomous systems don't have that social intuition. They rely on rigid rules. So when the environment breaks the rules, the machine stops out of an abundance of caution.
It stops to avoid a crash. But by stopping in the middle of the road, it creates a massive traffic jam, which then terrifies the public. We just don't trust the invisible hand on the steering wheel yet.
And trust just requires exposure. As they expand into cities like Chicago, Washington, D.C., and internationally to London and Tokyo, millions of people will take their first autonomous ride.
Over time, the bizarre feeling of an empty driver's seat will just normalize.
It inevitably will.
So, bringing this all together, we are living through two massive, simultaneous shifts in how we move. On one hand, we're fundamentally changing what powers our vehicles.
Right, trying to transition 500,000 yellow school buses from polluting diesel to clean electricity to protect our kids' lungs.
But we're battling massive infrastructure delays and contradictory bureaucratic overlap to get there.
And on the other hand, we are fundamentally changing who drives those vehicles. The private sector is pushing autonomous robotaxis onto our most chaotic freeways, utilizing radar and LiDAR to battle harsh weather.
While simultaneously battling our deep-seated psychological fears of handing over control to a machine.
Exactly. It's a huge transition.
Which leads to a pretty wild thought to leave you with today. Think about this. Right now, we have electric school buses delayed because we can't build the charging infrastructure fast enough. And at the exact same time, we have robotaxis successfully mastering our most complex, chaotic city streets.
Two totally different timelines.
Right. So what happens when these two timelines inevitably intersect? Will the multi-million-dollar electric school bus fleet of the future even have a driver's seat? And if it doesn't, are we ready to let an AI take our kids to school?
Well, that is the multi-billion-dollar question.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you and the vehicles you step into.